Hello and welcome to What's the Deal tutorials. It's me, Deal, and let's go ahead and get started with today's topic of Stellaris. Now, Stellaris can seem like a lot when you first play it, but it's quite manageable if you take it in pieces. And so the first piece we'd like to take is resources. We can think of the resources as being put into 5 categories. Basic resources like energy credits, minerals, and food. Advanced resources like consumer goods and alloys. Empire resources like influence, unity, admin cap, and research. And unique resources like volatile motes, exotic gases, rare crystals, living metal, SRO, dark matter, and nanites. There's also the trade resource here that allows you to change itself to get other more valuable resources. So let's begin with our in-depth look with energy. Energy credits are the universal currency of the galaxy because everybody's got machines that require power to run. If we go ahead and bring our mouse over to energy credits, we can see in detail how much is stored, how much we get per month, how much we're producing, along with what's producing it, in this case bases, trade, stations, and jobs, and what's consuming it. Ships, stations, star bases, buildings, districts, and leaders. As we can see, power is a very important resource, and so we're going to want to secure as much of it as we can get, either by, as it tells us, building generator districts, using construction ships, or selling resources on the market. Now let's talk about the first two, but the last one we will speak about towards the end of the video. So, building on our planet some districts. We have generator districts right here. With enough minerals, you can go ahead and build one. And then you can produce technician jobs that each do 16 energy credits per month for your empire, provided someone is working it. There are buildings you can get later on that will augment your ability to get energy from planets, but you must research them to get them. The same will be true for minerals and food. The next thing you can do is find a star system like this one, or this one, that have energy credits in them. So if I was to go here and take my construction ship, as we can see, one is actually already building a mining station right there at Sirius. And we would just right click the star and then choose build mining station to do that. In this case, we would make 2 energy off of it because it has an energy upkeep of 1, but it produces 3 once it's established. Next resource we should talk about is minerals. Minerals are the raw resources and basic materials that would be necessary to make certain, let's say, lower technology buildings, and can be used to be processed to make more advanced things that we'll talk about when we talk about advanced resources. For right now, what you should understand is that having a lot of minerals is never a bad thing, and you're going to have a high demand of minerals throughout the game. So go ahead and try to do the same as you do with energy. Build districts, build the buildings that you can research to augment them, and go ahead and get construction ships to build mining stations, as you can see here. The next resource we'd like to talk about is food. Now, food is a necessary resource for any biological race. If you're a machine, you can use food to get power, but we're going to focus on biologicals for this tutorial. So, for them, when they don't have enough food, their people begin to starve, and they become quite unhappy, and your planets become quite unstable. Unstable planets can revolt, unstable planets do not give as much materials, and are generally something to be avoided. So, how do you get food? Well, you get food by producing agricultural districts on planets, and you get food by building buildings on your space stations. Your space stations like the Sol Station here. I do not have that technology unlocked, but there is a hydroponics farm that you can build that will produce food for your empire. This highlights the importance of planets and planet-like things, like habitats that you can build later on. They are very necessary for producing food, and so you should always have enough food for your population and to grow into. So you want to make sure you have a big surplus each month so that when your population goes up, you're not scrambling to try to find a food solution. If you produce too much food, just remember you can sell it for energy and then buy something else. So let's go ahead and talk about advanced resources. Advanced resources are created by things like the industrial district, which take in minerals and produce alloys and consumer goods. There are also individual specialized buildings that will produce only alloys or only consumer goods. The consumer goods you can think of as gadgets, luxuries, and things that are necessary to let your pops do advanced processes and enjoy themselves. So we can think of these as like personal computers, virtual reality. It can be used for research and business purposes, and it can be used for pleasure to make people happy. These are consumer goods, and so you always want to have enough so that you can make use of things like research labs and to administrative offices to create important empire resources for you. The next is alloys. Alloys is absolutely necessary for all star bases, which I had previously called space stations, and for ships. You need them to maintain ships, you need them to build ships, and you also need alloys to build robots. This resource you're going to want to have in abundance. So when you have excess of the other resources, sell them to buy alloys, and especially stockpile this if you're looking at war in your future. So now let's talk about the Empire resources, and let's talk about the most critical of the Empire resources, and that's influence. Influence is your government's ability to get what it wants done and to get the things that it wants out of the galaxy. And so it is a relatively flat amount for the entire game, and you want to make sure that you have enough influence because it's used to claim new star bases, or star systems. It's used to create habitats. It's used for edicts. If you go ahead and click influence, you'll see it'll bring up the edicts tree, which are buffs that you can apply to your nations. It's a very important resource, and so when you're considering diplomatic things that we will talk about in a future video, you want to be sure you're not engaging too much into diplomacy where you're taking away all of your influence, because you need to have this throughout the beginning of the game and in the middle. The next important resource we want to talk about is unity. Now, unity is, you could think of this as culture and tradition and how much your people see themselves as one unified thing out in the galaxy. And you use this to get special paths that unlock bonuses for you. And if you get enough of these unlocked, you will go ahead and get ascension perks, which are even bigger bonuses that can be applied to your star nation and help you flesh out what your empire is going to do and what your people are going to do and what makes them unique in the galaxy. Now, you can use consumer goods to create empire resources, one of which is research. You see, we can also get research by building research stations, much like we build mining stations out at different sectors of the galaxy. But we can also build them on our planet through research labs here. And these take in people. They provide research jobs that provide a lot of research for your empire. There's also administrative offices which take in consumer goods to provide the other empire resources of administrative capacity. Administrative capacity is used to create empire sprawl. And empire sprawl, you can think of this as your empire's ability to dictate itself over the people. Its ability to run itself. It may not have the workers and the programs and the oversight to enforce all of the measures it would like to enforce. And if that's true, you would have an empire sprawl that is above your capacity. So we'd have like 55 out of 50. When that happens and you have a larger need than you have a supply for empire sprawl, you get debuffs to your nation. So you want to make sure that you have administrative capacity up. And you also have some room to grow into. Having a lot of extra administrative capacity doesn't buff you. It just allows you room to grow into. So please keep that in mind when you're prioritizing research and resources and other things. So now let's talk about the unique resources. These are these here. These resources are used for advanced buildings researched later on, and advanced weapons on ships researched later on, and defenses that are on ships. So you do not have to worry about this in the beginning. However, you would like to try to secure them as fast as you can. You acquire these by special drops on the galaxy, so where you can usually get research or trade value or minerals. Sometimes you can get other resources like alloys or these special resources. You get them through events, or you can create some of them yourself through buildings or harvest them if they are naturally occurring on your planet, but it's not guaranteed that they are naturally occurring on your planet. Once you start needing these resources or any of the resources here, please make sure that you're keeping a stockpile, or ideally a positive income each month, because any resource that goes into the red, you reach 0 and you have a need for it, will apply massive debuffs to everything in your empire, and it will cripple you. So you need to make sure that you avoid that. So the next resource we would like to talk about is the trade resource. This one. So, if we build the right space stations or star bases with trading depots on them, we can collect this resource, the trade value. Trade value is used to be converted into a resource of your choice. If we go to policies here, we can go to trade policy. And for each trade value, you can decide how it's used. For energy, if it's used for energy and consumer goods, or if it's used for energy and unity. These are naturally occurring within the galaxy. They can also be created by your star bases with the right buildings attached to them. And they can be created by your planets, such as this right here, which creates trade value and amenities. This is a resource that doesn't cleanly fall into a lot of the categories, amenities. But amenities is used by planets, and you could think of it as how nice your planet is. What things does it have to allow your people an escape from the stresses of everyday galactic life? If it's too low, they will become unstable, but if it's very high, your people are sated, and so you would like to keep your amenities high to a point. There is a cap to how much this buffs you, but it will buff you to keep it high. So earlier we were talking about the market, so if we take any of the resources here that is not influence, not unity, and not the research, or Empire Sprawl, we click any of these, it will go ahead and open its appropriate category. Now you notice I clicked like exotic gases and it didn't open the right category. Well, that's because we don't have access to exotic gases yet. How we get access to something like exotic gases is we must first start acquiring them somehow within the galaxy. And then we can start buying and selling them, but not before. So it would have brought us there had we had available. So here we see ourselves on minerals, and I can sell minerals. So say I wanted to get rid of this, I would get some energy. Say I was unhappy and I wanted to buy it back, I could buy it back. But you notice there's a unit price here, and that this unit price will change. It'll go up as I buy more, and this will go down as I sell more. This means that you can't just dump all of your resources at a time. You should be periodically going through and selling and buying when the price is good. That way you can get the maximum amount for the energy or other resources that you have. So this is the internal market. We haven't progressed in this save enough to reach the galactic market. But if we did, we get access to better prices and other things like the slave market, where we could buy slaves for our planet if that was something that our star nation desired. The last thing to talk about here is the monthly trade. So again, you should be trading your excess resources for things like alloys or food or minerals or whatever you're lacking in. But if you would not like to do it manually, you could set up these monthly trades where every single month you are getting some amount and you set a minimum price to buy or sell. And you go ahead and you do that every month without you needing to do anything except for come back in here and delete it if you need to. And so that concludes our lesson on resources in Stellaris. I hope you found it insightful. If you did, make sure to share it, to like it, to subscribe, or to leave a comment to let me know what you thought or what would you like to see me cover in the future. All right, I'll see you out there.